In the top stories, Prime Minister addresses several national issues at monthly press conference. National debt to GDP ratio now stands close to 60%, and officials announce the first wave of music festival artists. The details on these stories and more after the break. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Barrage. Safety and security, accountability, and the Team Unity anniversary celebrations were among the topics addressed during the Prime Minister's press conference on Wednesday afternoon at government headquarters. In his opening address, the Prime Minister spoke at length about the various measures to reduce incidences of crime. Among them, the planned rollout of the CCTV program and associated training programs, the induction of a new head of the forensic unit, and the enlistment of a crime reduction specialist to work with various community groups to reduce negative behavior among the youth. He also noted that for January there had been only 1 homicide compared to 5 in 2015 and 6 in 2016, and said he hoped that this reduction would continue for the rest of the year. Regarding Team Unity's anniversary celebration, the Prime Minister outlined the upcoming events, which included the groundbreaking ceremony for a new housing project, the expansion of e-government services with the launch of new apps, and the launch of the STEP program. The press conference was carried live on ZIZ TV and ZIZ Radio 96.1 and streamed on www.zizonline.com. Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris has announced that the country's debt to GDP ratio now currently stands close to 60%, which is in line with international standards. This was revealed during the recently held Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity Forum, where the Prime Minister and his ministerial colleagues gave an account of their stewardship in bringing about the prosperity agenda for the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
This Team Unity administration has held true to its mandate to work for the people. What we say is what the central bank has said, that we are the best performing country in the Caribbean. What we say is what the Caribbean Development Bank has said time and time again. What we say is what the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean has said. St. Kitts and Nevis is performing better than all the rest.
Prime Minister Harris, who is also the Minister of Finance, noted that under his watch, the Team Unity administration, less than 2 years into its 5-year mandate, paid off the country's debt to the IMF.
In less than 2 years, to wipe out the IMF debt, $117 million we wrote off. Well, not wrote off, we paid off, and bring an end to the national disgrace where the first time in the history of our country we went to the IMF begging. And I still come to the country to say, year after year, month after month, under my watch, the country is in surplus.
Most recently, Dr. Harris, who holds a PhD in accounting from Concordia University in Canada, reported in the National Assembly on Friday, January 20th, 2017, that, quote, the preliminary data show that for 2016, the fiscal operations resulted in a recurrent account surplus of $128.3 million, an overall surplus of $130.3 million, and a primary surplus of $154.7 million, end quote. Music festival officials have announced the first wave of artists to be featured on the 2017 St. Kitts Music Festival. During a breakfast with press and corporate partners on Wednesday morning at the Ocean Terrace Inn, Chairman of the Artist Selection Committee, Jonelle Powell, announced that the performers were chosen to maximize attendance and international appeal.
We believe that the first acts that we've announced today show the road in which the St. Kitts Music Festival is developing. We hope and believe that these acts represent the demographics that will be coming to the St. Kitts Music Festival and that everyone will enjoy.
The artists announced were reggae acts Shabba Ranks, Movado and Jacure, and pop group Goo Goo Dolls. The officials also announced that they are looking to expand the music festival experience and will be adding a band clash to raise the level of excitement.
Some of the things that we have been considering and plan to put out for you include bringing international DJs to participate with the atmosphere. We've actually had considerations and suggestions of including a foam pit in the Thursday Night Music Festival. One of the new things that we would like to present to you is a band clash. A band clash between local bands, which the participants would be selected by you, the public.
Ambassador Powell said the full roster will be released at a later date. The launch was carried live on ZIZ Radio. Residents of West Bastille are pleased that government is delivering on its promise of upgrading the sporting facility in the Boyd's Village. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris and Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Sean Richards toured the facility to get a first-hand look at the work completed to date. Accompanying them on the tour was Senator in the National Assembly Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, a resident of West Bastille. She thanked the government for acting on its promise in such a short period of time and noted that the new facility can significantly improve the development of sports in the area.
I am absolutely delighted that now the people of Boyd's are able to have the recreation facility which they have been asking for a long time, having a football field, and I'm hoping eventually we would also see a football team entering from the Boyd's area into the big leagues. So I'm sure they would be very pleased and happy that they have this now. And then added, you have the basketball court. So again, another possibility for there to be a big team out of Boyd's taking part in the National League also at that level.
Another resident of West Bastille, Damien Weeks, was also on hand during the tour of the facility. He commended the government for its vision in going beyond just another sporting facility by incorporating a kids area and jogging path for the benefit of residents.
We have been asking for this field for quite some time, and it is good to see that we will be getting a complete facility in terms of recreation for the child's park, the basketball court, the fencing. So it is something that has been plaguing the community for quite some time, and we just want the people to appreciate it, accept it, and just use it to the best of their abilities, because there's a lot more in store for the community of West Bastille and constituency number 3 from the Team Unity government.
After falling into disrepair, the Boyd's sporting facility under the leadership of the Team Unity government is currently undertaking work that will see the installation of lights, fencing, a new basketball court, a kids zone, and a jogging path. After the break, 3 arrested for suspicion of Frigate Bay house breakings and larcenies, and St. Kitts records the first homicide for 2017. We'll tell you more when we come back. The police are investigating a shooting incident in Newtown that has resulted in the death of one male. According to reports, the shooting occurred shortly after 11 a.m. on Wednesday. Investigations revealed that the victim was shot by an unknown assailant. Investigators from the Violent Crimes Unit and the Criminal Investigations Department and technicians from the Forensic Services Unit have canvassed the scene for evidence. The investigation continues. In other police-related news, 3 persons have been arrested in relation to a spate of house breakings and larcenies in recent weeks across the Frigate Bay area. According to reports, a number of electronic items were recovered by the police. Reports also indicate that the arrest was made possible by the assistance of area residents through investigations by police officers of the Frigate Bay Police Station and Forensic Services Unit the K9 unit, and assistance from the Defense Force and the Ross University Security Department. Divisional Commander with responsibility for the Frigate Bay area, Superintendent Cromwell Henry, said, quote, "I want to commend our officers, the Defense Force officers, and the Ross University security team for their efforts," end quote. He added, "It must be noted that it was the assistance of residents that paid off. They came forward and provided whatever information they had." Superintendent Henry highlighted some of the information was mundane and by itself did not stand out. It was when put with other pieces, a clearer picture came forth and we were able to make an arrest. This goes to show that by having a good police and community engagement, we can make a difference. Charges against the 3 individuals are forthcoming. In efforts to empower law enforcement officers in St. Kitts and Nevis, a police inspector is preparing to host a social event for the 2nd year dubbed Salute Mi Familia 2. Inspector Alric Edwards, who is also a student at the Central Police University in Taiwan, spoke of the inspiration behind hosting the event.
The reason for my starting it was that the general public per se doesn't have any confidence in the police force, and the relationship between law enforcement agencies is really poor. Information is not as forthcoming as it should be in certain respect, you know what I mean? So I'm trying to make communication easier and trying to kind of bring forth a more stronger community policing strategy in the system, the police system. If we party regularly together, then the friendship and the relationship will go stronger.
He spoke of expectations for the event.
Like a normal event, we have people dancing, people drinking, people having a good time, you know what I mean? People talking about duty, anything that will happen in a normal event, well, except the illicit behaviors, smoking weed and so, that won't happen at all for sure. But anything that will happen in a normal event will happen at that event. People dancing, having a good time. I want to ask person to come out and have fun. That's it. I just want people to have fun. I want to have fun for sure. Yeah, I want to have fun for sure. So I just want person to come out and have fun.
The event will take place on Friday, February 2nd, and will be held under the theme Building Relations while wearing uniform through music, dance, and plenty laughs. Coming up, St. Lucia records its first road fatality of 2017. The details when we come back. St. Lucia recorded its first road fatality in 2017 after a dump truck slammed into 22-year-old pedestrian earlier this week. We hear more in this HTS St. Lucia report.
Zane Phillips, 22, lost his life after sustaining severe head trauma from a collision with a heavy-duty dump truck.
I see that so bad and I don't even think he can make it.
The deadly crash happened along the San Souci Bridge on the John Compton Highway at about 7 p.m. January 30th. The driver of the dump truck was traveling southbound into Castries. The truck driver appeared too distraught to speak.
Okay, what happened? That's exactly what happened.
I don't see nothing.
Details on what led to the collision remain unclear. Unconfirmed reports suggest Phillips was reportedly attempting to cross the road.
Upon arrival, emergency personnel found one adult male lying on his back on a concrete surface. Initial assessment by the crew revealed that the patient was unconscious, unresponsive, breathless, and pulseless with severe head trauma. He was then immobilized and CPR was initiated. The patient was transported to the Victoria Hospital where he was subsequently pronounced dead.
A family is now in mourning. Etheridge Thomas is Zane's father.
He was coming from by somebody, I think is somebody that works social gas station. They were supposed to give him some work, so he went and checked the person and he was on his way back. Then somebody called and say, well, called from my window and tell me that my son just got hit by a truck.
Zane's older sister, Malika Phillip, says that the Sans Souci Bridge is her regular commute from work. She had no clue her brother was the reason behind the police cordon.
I was just coming from work and I noticed that the road was blocked, so I was telling my co-worker maybe they was fixing the bridge or something. But when we make the wrong behind the park, I noticed there was a lot of police there. So I figured it was an accident, and not knowing it was my brother. And whilst I was on my way home, my aunt called me and she told me my brother was in an accident. And when I got to the scene, they told me go to the hospital. And when I get to the hospital, I seen it's him.
Police investigations into the first road fatality in 2017 are ongoing. Rihani Isidore, HTS News Force.
In Guyana, an employee of a city hotel has been arrested in connection with a robbery that occurred in 2016. HGP's Javon Vickery has more.
The police have so far been working with the theory that the robbery committed in front of the Tower Hotel back in December was actually an inside job. Although the two captured thieves were charged recently with offense of robbery and wounding of an employee of the hotel, the authorities believe they now have the mastermind in custody. Commander of A Division Clifton Hicken confirmed the arrest of the employee who remains in police custody for questioning. 63-year-old Balmik Prasad was shot when he tried to wrestle with one of the thieves, the pillion rider, who had climbed off the CG motorcycle and confronted the accountant in the hotel's main street location. The accountant at the time of the robbery had $2.5 million in his possession. Several days after the robbery, Curtis Vasconcelos and Jason Howard were charged with the robbery with violence committed against the security personnel. Javon Vickery, HGP Nightly News.
Coming up, Canadian Prime Minister calls out Fox News for tweet, and the search for missing persons continue after boat accident off Malaysian coast. The details when we come back. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau called out Fox News after he says the news network tweeted false information with regards to a recent Quebec City mosque bombing that left over 6 persons dead. Here's more.
We will grieve with you, we will defend you, we will love you, and we will stand with you.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau made that pledge to Muslims in Canada on Monday, the day after a suspected terrorist attack at a Quebec City mosque left 6 people dead. Trudeau's office sent a letter to Fox News on Tuesday, apparently aiming to keep that promise. The letter was about a tweet Fox News published Monday that said the shooting suspect was of Moroccan origin. Authorities released the identity of the suspected shooter, who was French-Canadian, on Monday night, but Fox News still had the tweet online Tuesday afternoon. The letter said, "We need to remain focused on keeping our communities safe and united instead of trying to build walls and scapegoat communities." Fox News has since removed the tweet. In a statement obtained by CNN, the managing director said the site corrected the misinformation with the tweet.
The search area has been further expanded as efforts to find people missing after a boat accident off the coast of Malaysia continue. The Malaysian Maritime Enforcement Agency said the search area would expand to 39,000 square nautical miles. We hear more in this report.
Despite more than 72 hours have passed, search efforts were strengthened. A Malaysian police chief said, "We hope they're still alive."
It is a northern side.
Several search zones were identified, although because there was no GPS on the boat, the exact location of the accident was unknown. Inside the cabin, the captain directs the routes, while sailors keep watch for any signs of life. At the same time, an investigation into the cause of the accident is ongoing. It is looking into the important questions such as whether the boat was overloaded and whether it was operating legally.
One team is to investigate the sudden death report, whereby the 3 of the tourists passed away. Another team to look at our investigation pertaining to the negligence, and then cause death. So another team is our liaison officer, whereby for each and every one of the victim, we have one liaison officer to take care of their welfare, everything.
One fact that has been confirmed is that the port where the boat left wasn't a legitimate port for tourist boats.
It is built for the fishermen usage, not meant for commercial activities like tourism.
Back on the search boat, 4 hours of searching yielded nothing, and as waves strengthened, it had to return. The captain recalled the night he helped rescue survivors of the boat accident.
When the rescued Chinese tourists made it to land, I felt bad seeing them injured. We will keep searching until we find the missing people. I hope they're not harmed when we see them.
Jin Chao, CGTN.
Up next in sports, LeBron James calls out NBA analyst Charles Barkley. Stay tuned. Cleveland Cavaliers forward LeBron James fired back at TNT analyst Charles Barkley for what the three-time NBA champion perceived was an attempt to damage his legacy.
LeBron James might have been the biggest NBA star for the last decade, but that doesn't mean he's the most popular. He certainly seems like a good guy. He's an athlete with a conscience who takes a stand on social issues. He showed he had a sense of humor in the movie Trainwreck, and of course, he's very successful with 3 NBA titles to his name. But as a player, he's quite polarizing. People who watch the NBA tend to either love him or hate him. Well, here's why they don't like him. James has just won a title with Cleveland. He's surrounded by all-stars, and his team has the biggest payroll in the league. And yet, he's complaining. James says he wants more support from the Cavaliers management if he's to win again. Last week, Charles Barkley, who is one of the most prominent voices in the NBA media, called him out on it.
Inappropriate, whiny, all the above. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they have given him everything he wanted. They have the highest payroll in NBA history. He wanted J.R. Smith last summer. They paid him. He wanted Shumpert last summer. They bought in Kyle Korver. He's the best player in the world. Does he want all the good players? He don't want to compete?
Well, why is this all a big deal right now? Well, the Cavaliers have just had a disastrous January. Their Monday night defeat in Dallas was their 8th loss in the month of January. James is clearly frustrated, and he's lashed out at Barkley, citing some of the less flattering things about his reputation. James says he's a hater. I'm not going to let him disrespect my legacy like that. All I've done for my entire career is represent the NBA the right way. 14 years, never got in trouble, respected the game. Print that. I'm tired of biting my tongue. There's a new sheriff in town.
The African Cup of Nations semi-final see Burkina Faso as the surprise package among 3 teams that have won 15 continental titles between them. But the Stallions are confident they can finally get their hands on the trophy by beating an Egyptian team that is looking to put 7 painful years behind them. Al Jazeera's Paul Rees reports from the Gabonese capital, Libreville.
The home team may be long gone from this Africa Cup of Nations, but for some residents of the Gabonese capital Libreville, the beat goes on. A large immigrant community from Burkina Faso has seen their team reach the semi-finals here, 2 wins away from what would be their first continental title.
There are many people from Burkina Faso in Gabon. They are playing together, so I'm very confident that we can go so far. This cup, this competition is for us.
Burkina Faso's progress saw them contribute to Gabon's demise before knocking Tunisia out in the quarter-finals. Blocking their way to the final is a team whose record in this competition is without equal. For Burkina Faso, this training session is about arming themselves for perhaps the biggest challenge any team can face in Africa, a match against the 7-time Africa Cup of Nations champions Egypt. If Burkina Faso win, they'll be in their 2nd final in 4 years. Aristide Bansay came off the bench to score the first of Burkina Faso's goals in the 2-0 win over the Tunisians. After narrowly losing to Nigeria in the 2013 final, he believes his team could be one of the new powers in Africa.
It's definitely coming. Of course we can win the African Cup. The winner doesn't have to be Ivory Coast or Egypt, teams that only know winning. If you have a team with conviction, I think they can win. We can go that far this year. We can win this.
This is the first time Egypt have qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations since 2010, when the Pharaohs won their third title in a row. But bridging that divide is their captain, Essam El Hadari, the oldest player in the competition at 44.
Before we were a talented group, we grew up together for years and won 4 titles. That's the difference between that generation of players and now. And that's my role, to tell them stories of our successes and how we did it. Now they want to do it for themselves, because everyone compares them to the past.
El Hadari was in the Egypt squad that beat Burkina Faso in the 1998 semis. The same results 19 years later will see them face Ghana or Cameroon in yet another final. Paul Rees, Al Jazeera, Libreville.
A tamer version of U.S. football is being introduced in efforts to address safety concerns. Here's more.
USA Football said it plans to introduce a much tamer version of the game for young players. The organization will institute several rule changes in a small number of leagues across the country that will be introduced nationally if they're effective. USA Football told the New York Times the changes will include cutting the number of players on the field for each team from 11 to between 6 and 9, smaller fields, eliminating kickoffs and punts, and banning the three-point stance for those playing on the line, so players would crouch instead.
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines. Recapping the top stories, Prime Minister addresses several national issues at Monte Press Conference. National debt to GDP ratio now stands close to 60%, and officials announced the first wave of music festival artists. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barrage. Goodbye.